I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers.
And in today's episode, we'll be discussing a film we both haven't seen before. And that is the Swedish film with a really long title, which is The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared.
I'm pretty sure they could make that shorter. The 100-year-old man that disappeared. That would kind of leave you a bit more in suspense of how did he disappear?
I guess.
Instead of knowing that there's something related to a window. And how
That's
high is the window?
Inconsequential, isn't it, I suppose, when you think about when you watch the film.
Yeah. I thought initially I was thinking of Up or something like that. I'd got it into my head, this old man going on an adventure.
Well, he kind of does, doesn't he?
Yeah, but it's not as innocent as Up, is it?
No, it's far from that.
He's a bit of a badass, isn't he, really? For like, if I had a 100-year-old granddad that were like him, quite be quite good, wouldn't it? So yeah, I think I don't know what you thought of it, but
well, probably certainly for you, but I think for me as well, this will probably be. I can't think of the top of my head any like films from Sweden I've seen before.
Unless you've made me watch it, I probably haven't watched it.
That's what I mean. I can't think of anything where we've.
No, I don't think it's more being like Japanese or Korean, isn't it? Yeah,
Spanish or things like that. Yeah, but yeah. So I don't know. I kind of want to see it from the title to see what.
Well, I actually didn't know it was Swedish. It kind of threw me off when there were subtitles. I don't know. I was like, oh, I'm going to be reading.
Yeah, I wasn't sure myself as to when loading it up, thinking, is it... Because obviously based off the title of the film, it's not like immediately telling you that it's going to be in subtitles from that title of the film itself.
No, it don't.
So I was thinking maybe it was just made in Sweden and it's got people who are acting in it who are speaking our native language, but as we find out, that's not the case. But that's nothing to take away from it, because that's
but I did notice that there were English parts, and that I know that sounds daft, but it did confuse me. That did, because it was like I was in the zone of the film reading, and then it was like this English came, and I'm like, I understand this, and then I'm like, I don't need to read anymore, and then it kind of threw me off. I think I personally prefer one or the other. I don't. Because then I have to kind of go back into that throw of realising I'm reading again.
Yeah.
And it kind of jolts it a little bit for me, I think. Personally, I prefer just all coherent. Either I'm reading or I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
Initially, I didn't know where this was going to go or how it was going to lead. I knew I really liked the old man as a character.
Yeah, that was just the same. I didn't know where it was really going with that. I obviously knew that he was going to escape or get out from wherever he was and go and wandering, I suppose, because he's an old man, so he's not going to get too far, but he's...
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, well, he's definitely, bless him, he doesn't have any money, he's not going to get that far, someone's just going to end up finding him somewhere.
Yeah, and taking him, and that's how he ends up going further and further, because it's like, oh, you're lost, or something like that.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it to go down a line of dark and criminal, as it did, because he looks like an innocent 100-year-old man. You know, he looks like he wouldn't hurt a fly. And I was like appalled in some of the stuff he was doing, because it's like, I think that's what made it somewhat comical.
Definitely, yeah.
And there was some jovial kind of music in the background.
Yeah. To contrast with what was going on in a sense, yeah. But again, I think it harks back to sort of like the black comedies that I like, where it's kind of like, it's funny, but it kind of shouldn't be, or...
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, because it wasn't cringy though for me, which I was pleasantly happy with.
Yeah.
Because I think they did it really well, because it could have come to a point of where it was overdone. I don't think the humour was overdone. I think it was just right, and I think that is hard sometimes to do. But I think you had the innocence of the old man. But yeah, it's quite funny, isn't it, how you deem a person. So, like, you look at an old man, and obviously you think, oh, he's frail, he's brittle, he's old, but then he's so wise. He's had 100 years of living on this world. He's going to be better off than any 20-year-old. He's going to be more savvy. He's seen all the tricks of the trade. And it's like, actually, yeah, okay, his body's only letting him down. It's not actually his mind. And it's one of those where you just think that they're incapable sometimes, and like they're not able to do anything.
I mean, you shouldn't judge your book by its cover in that sense of, they know stuff that you couldn't possibly comprehend.
Yeah.
They've lived through things that you can't possibly comprehend, and, they should sort of show them a bit of respect.
I guess so, and I feel like that is a case of with the retirement home. I am quite against a retirement home. I know it's one of those places where if you can't look after your parents yourself, or it isn't in your time or something like that you can manage it.
Or in his case where he hasn't got anybody, so he has to go somewhere, and that's where he has to go because it's an institution where it's for people like that.
But he didn't really need to go there, did he, really? He was more than capable, and I think the more you kind of utilise yourself, whereas I think a retirement home is one of those horrible places where you just sit there.
Yeah.
And this character doesn't want to do that.
No. Well, the reason him being in there is really sort of it's his character, which is kind of an arsonist, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got a very, very interesting background, hasn't he, of how his life pans out.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't know if you thought, I quite liked the actual old man more than his younger self.
You mean in his, mid-years?
Yeah.
I feel like it was okay at the beginning where it's sort of explained about him growing up and stuff and all that. But what kind of dragged for me a little bit was when it was in his mid-years of his life and all that political stuff was a bit... I don't know if that really needed to be going as long for that, because that kind of took me out of it a little bit. I know it was sort of like trying to put him in situations where, he's helping them build the atom bomb and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and all these names were thrown out. It was like a bit of a history lesson, wasn't it, really? And
yeah,
it was like, well, actually that could have been, because was it like a two-hour film, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
That bit could have definitely been reduced down to make it like an hour and a half, I feel.
I was more interested in how he was as a 100-year-old man.
I agree completely. That was I enjoyed those aspects
of it
more.
Yeah.
I kind of, not meaning this in a bad way, somewhat kind of zoned out a little bit more. And I felt personally for me, I'm a bit of a slow reader. The text, when it was like political and everything, it was going a bit too fast for me to even kind of catch up with it, because it was like quite high debate talking and you have to like read like supersonic speed, and it was like, I think I was just like, I'm not really...
Yeah, that's this aspect I'm not really into, but I want to know more. I want to see more of the old man in his...
Yeah.
How he is now, his adventure is going on at the moment with these people that he comes across with. And
I think it's funny because he's the same person, but because he's 100, now it's more endearing.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite funny, because if he was doing that and he was in his mid-40s, we won't be liking him as much, but because he's 100, it has that comical kind of feeling towards it, and I think that's definitely to do with his age, which it's strange really, because we're all human, we're all the same, but because he's looking like he should be frail and he's quite savvy, it's quite comical. But yeah, going back to the fact that he is a bit of an arsonist, that's kind of where all his job career kind of then goes into, doesn't it? It kind of becomes
his livelihood in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is lucky, because not everyone can do what they love, and not everyone gets paid to blow things up, really.
No, I don't know what that really comes under as a job title, but
No, I don't. He was a bit of a troubled child, really, wasn't he? Because his parents died when he was it like quite early on, like when he was 10 or something like that?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then there was some comical scenes when he was a bit younger as well. I feel like it is an innocent thing where when he's younger, I enjoyed that side of it, and when he was older, the mid bit of him...
Yeah, you maybe could have shown just a little bit of that, and that would have sufficed. But I know this is based off a book, so that's probably why those parts were maybe kept in, but for me that just didn't gel with me that much.
No, I agree with you, but I think as well, you've got it where, it's based from a book. If the person's read the book, they'll be like, oh, well, you won't put this in, you won't put that in, whereas... Not dissing a book. I know everyone loves a good book and they're always going to say the book is better than the actual film because it's how you've created it in your head. But I do like it when it can come to life for me, personally.
Yeah.
And I think really there were certain bits, like you said, that could have not been in it. But anyways, so this 100-year-old man climbs out of his window, which is not very steep.
No, it's on the ground floor.
It is. I was thinking, I don't know, I expected a little bit of a jump. A little bit of a challenge. It wasn't that challenging for him, was it really? Now, I'm pretty sure he must be acted by, he's not actually a 100-year-old actor. He's obviously...
Well, no, of course not, so that wouldn't be possible. It's just a guy in prosthetics. Probably the same guy who's portrayed as the middle-aged guy, and he's just in cosmetics to make him look like he is in the flashbacks.
Yeah, I think so. And I can kind of tell, like, he should look a lot older if he's 100, if I'm honest. Well, I'd assume, unless he's had a really, really good life, which he hasn't. So he should have aged a lot more, in my opinion. I do think he's got the characterisms of an old man, though, and the way he walks, quite down pat. It does look like a little old man. And he climbs out the window and he walks to a bus station. And bless him, it's like, at this point, you kind of feel like, you kind of relate and think, oh, well, if that were my grandparent and they were out there, and you'd be like, I don't really want him going on a bus to nowhere. Yeah. And so I did feel a little bit for him in that sense, but he's got his wits about him, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. So the first comical part where you can kind of see he's got a little bit of a sassy side is where he steals this man's suitcase because he's got a bus to catch in 3 minutes.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just take this with me. Doesn't realise what he's doing, and that's leads. Well,
I think he's more than capable of knowing what he's doing. He's not got dementia, just forgot that it's not his suitcase. He knows.
No, because in the other bit it comes up when he gets off the bus and someone says, oh, excuse me, you forgot your case, and like, oh, yeah, thank you.
He probably forgot that he brought it on the bus with him, depending on how long it was. But he knew when he was taking it. He could have left it there.
Could have done, but he didn't. Because
that's what I'd have done. I'd been like, screw your suitcase, I wouldn't have stolen it. I'd been like, just leave it there then. And be like, oi, this guy, that ticket man, can you watch that while I need to get this? That's what my attitude would have been. So, like we said, he's got no wife, no children. He's more being a career-driven man. Which I can imagine is quite a lonely way to live.
Yeah, but he did have, as described in the whole flashback during his more adult years when he was younger, he had a vasectomy, so that's why he couldn't have children, because you can't bear them if you've had that procedure.
True, but you could still marry a woman or a man. You could still have a relationship, couldn't you? You could adopt a child, or if you really fell in love, but I just don't think he's had that opportunity to fall.
No, he's not.
No. Which is I think that is really sad, because I feel like that is one of the main purposes of being on this planet. So I've wrote down a saying of what his mum says. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I need to listen to this. So basically she did say about not worrying.
Yeah.
And kind of not stressing about what the future will bring. So life is what it is, and it does for what it does. Basically meaning there's no point in worrying about it. Life's going to go on anyways. When things change, or life is going to make its own decisions of when it's going to do something and when it's not going to do something. You can be waiting forever. You can try and take a little bit of charge, but it's in the midst of...
Yeah, just how it is. It just happens how it happens.
Yeah. So I did take a little bit from that and thought, well, that's actually a good saying. And he does seem to refer back to a lot of his mum's sayings within the film. Mm-hmm. So there is another character which I think's pretty useless.
The detective.
Yeah, I put him down as a policeman.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty incompetent.
Yeah, he's like the most rubbish detective in the world, and I just don't understand how he's not putting two and two together. He's just literally just can't see the wood for the trees, bless him, can he?
Yeah, he's somehow coasting through this whole investigation.
Doing nothing. I think it's a pat on the back at the end of it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, have a day off, you've done really well, and it were like, wish my life were like that.
Yeah.
So obviously, in this suitcase, got quite a bit of money in it. 50 million, was it?
Yeah, I think that's what it said.
Doing a lot with that. So there is a lot of criminal offence over this money, because obviously I think it's a gang of bikers that don't know what they've been involved in, but they're meant to give this money to somebody.
This Cockney geezer in Bali, yeah. Just some exchange of money for something. Maybe drugs, so who knows.
God knows. You don't really get to know what it actually is for.
Yeah.
You don't, that doesn't come apparent. But I feel like this 100-year-old man deserves it more. And I feel like he's had a bit of a rubbish life with his parents dying. And then he was put in a mental institution, wasn't he, for a little bit of his life as well?
Yeah, again, that was due to the arsonist in him for blowing the...
He blew a person up, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I did find that bit quite funny, that, and I'm thinking I shouldn't really be laughing.
But...
He was only quite young as well.
Yeah, so that's where he spent most of his growing up in that institution, and then released after, was he probably of age, I guess.
To be allowed to blow more things up?
No, I mean an adult at legal age of being allowed to leave on your own, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Yeah,
but that's what I meant with, like, then you've got a profession blowing things up. It's kind of like a goose chase, isn't it? Of the bikers trying to get this 100-year-old man, and he seems to get the better of him every time.
One way or the other, yeah.
You don't think he can or should be able to basically defeat them or kind of get to a point where he gets the money. You feel like at some point something horrible is going to happen because he's so fragile and brittle and he's 100. So it's like, well, one of these gang members is going to get the money off him and then probably kill him or something like that.
But we know that's not how the story's going to really play out. There's always going to be like one step ahead or something. He'll, you know, because he's been an old man or whatever, in some way that he'll do something that leads to the demise of the enemies, basically.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me of Home Alone a little bit. So like Kevin getting the better of the two robbers and the innocence of Kevin and the fact that you'd think that the robbers would have the upper hand.
Yeah.
But they don't. And I feel like certain things are done with luck. I think they're not intended. And
yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
Luck is on his side and it kind of works out always for him, really. It's like the world is kind of karma's come back and is giving him what he deserves, really.
Yeah.
So he kind of gets a little bit of a crew going himself, doesn't he? As along the way, picking up and meeting strangers who are willing to help him because he's 100. I'm pretty sure if you were a lot younger, you wouldn't get the amount of help he got. So in the end, I think, comes out smelling of roses. No police case was filed because he's 100 and he's with people, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's more the biker gang and everything and all that. That's more the incriminating people, but they all end up croaking anyway, so...
Yeah, by the demises of the fact of this 100-year-old man and these three other people that join him.
Which they can't explain because there's no...
real evidence. And it's quite strange, really, because they haven't really tried to tidy it up that properly. It has been a bit of a mess all the way through, but they just seem to think to the police that it is the gangs have just been having a rival between themselves and all killed one another off.
One of them being squashed by an elephant.
Yes, that one was... I was a little bit like, oh, please make him die, but don't kill the elephant. Please don't kill it. It was a bit comical, that scene, and it's nearly got to a point of where it was like gonna push it over, but luckily it just was a fine line for me.
Yeah, it wasn't like kind of fart on him or anything.
No,
like that.
If they did that, then it'd be like, right, it's gone over me level of threshold tolerance.
Yeah.
So, I think really the other part of the scene would be the last bit, is where
they end up in Bali by
a fluke
of chance of Alan speaking to one of the bikers who ends up being concussed. So he doesn't know anything about the money or any other situation. And he says, like, oh, where should we go to meet up with my friend? And he says, oh, Bali, I guess, and subconsciously meaning that's where my boss is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't no idea about that. He just kind of just plucks out of thin air, in theory. So they end up going there. And
then, obviously, they seem to be splashing their cash. Bali's nice, you know, they're obviously having a nice time on the beaches, spending all this money that they hadn't earned, and having a really good time. They even transported the elephant over.
But it felt a bit shortchanged on that, because it wasn't really an impact. Because it's kind of, the Cockney guy, like, spots him, so that's the guy. It's like, you know, try and pull over or whatever, but then they end up getting hit by a truck, and then that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, and literally they get off scot-free. Yeah, pretty much easy breezy, and they didn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure whether there was going to be something like they might have survived or something, and they come back and be like another sort of showdown, like hunt them down or something. But no, that was.
I did think there would have been something with him because he was like the big boss man kind of thing. Like if you were playing the game, you'd have to finish him off. But he seemed to be quite easily
done with, and that's that. Yeah.
That was kind of the ending.
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
They're just chilling on the beach. And everything and
enjoying life, really.
Yeah.
So next time, people, steal a suitcase because you might actually have £50 million in it. That's what I got from that.
No, we shouldn't encourage people stealing suitcases.
Well, that's what that movie's encouraging. If you're old and senile, you can get away with anything. So basically, do yourself a favour. Be as good as gold until you're about 60 odd, and then you can do whatever you want because you can blame it on the fact that you're old.
I think you need to be a bit older.
70 then.
80.
80?
Yeah. You get more instant.
I'm sure you could get away with 75. Come on.
Yeah. Okay.
What am I going to do if I retire when I'm 70? Can't cause havoc for another 10 years, is what you're saying?
Don't know, depends how sweet and innocent you are then.
Oh, I'm sure I could pull it off and pretend I'm even older. I could get away with it. Well, no, I probably won't because I get ID'd when I'm in a supermarket anyways.
Okay, so final thoughts then and scoring.
I think it was a little bit long-winded. I feel like they could have consolidated it into maybe an hour and a half. I seem to lose a little bit of concentration at the back end and then it started to get a bit better again. I really seem to enjoy the first hour more than the back end. I feel personally for me, it seemed to kind of, you were intrigued and it was unravelling and then it just got a bit too much unravelled for me. And I really do like the information I get normally given.
Yeah.
I do want more normally, don't I?
Yeah,
but this felt like it gave me too much, personally for me. I do really, really like the character of Alan. I think he's really portrayed really well. And I feel like it is cleverly done. And the thought process of this, like the idea and the concept, is something I haven't seen before. But would I want to rewatch it again? Probably at some point down the line.
Yeah,
but
not like next week or anything.
It's not one.
A couple of years down the line, you think maybe revisit and see how it holds up. Yeah.
But then obviously comparing it to others that I've seen, is it more favourable? It wouldn't be. I think if he gave me some other options, that would be lower to the pile. Yeah. It doesn't mean that it's not a good movie. It is light-hearted, but at the same time a little bit intense. It's a bit strange. It's like, I feel like the light-hearted parts are when Alan is 100, and the more intense parts is at the back end when he's a lot older. Not older, but like middle-aged.
Yeah, the flashbacks.
Yeah. So, I'm going to now ask your thoughts, and then we'll do the scores after.
Okay.
Because I don't want to sway you on what I say.
Well, no, as I explained earlier, the bits with where he's in his young years as in middle age, that kind of took me out of it from the enjoyment of the film. The humour was there, don't get me wrong, that was funny at the parts where it's blowing stuff up and all that kind of stuff and the whole black humour spin on it, even though it's quite light-hearted in the way it's not like the black humour I'm normally accustomed to, and it can be a lot worse and a lot funnier, but it is, did make me laugh a couple of times. The characters, the band of misfits that they end up going along with, wasn't too struck up on them too much, really. Maybe the first one he meets, the initial thing where he's in the railway station. He was probably the best out of the bunch, really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like I thought they weren't going to get any others. I felt like it should have been just these
the
two.
two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got an elephant, so that's
like
quite
elephants?
less stress. Yeah, I do like elephants. Yeah, I used to be really big into them when I was younger.
Really, I love elephants. I think they're so beautiful.
Yeah, and it was comical with the whole biker gang getting the comeuppance with trying to track him down, but I was getting taken out one way or the other. and I feel like it kind of ended semi-abruptly. It's kind of like I felt like I wanted a bit more of them in the barley, and not like completely like everything's peachy. But I didn't want the more what seemed more tedious political stuff that was going on.
Mm.
We had like Albert Einstein's brother as one of the characters, and I was thinking, why are we doing this?
Yeah, I felt like it was the history lesson coming, and it was like, I'm just not.
Yeah. It's like, what's that all about? And it's I don't know. It didn't really add anything to my enjoyment for the film, so it's kind of knocks off a few points there.
I agree. So, I would say, like what you said, because of the fact that it's long-winded. It's weird because if you only give me the first half, I'd have probably said it was quite a lot higher.
Right.
And it does sound a bit low, but it's just from my personal enjoyment. It's not that there's anything actually wrong with the film.
Mm-hmm.
I would score it a 6.
6 is my score as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have scored it a lot higher if it would have been a case of maybe we'd have had half an hour left after an hour, and it was a case of I feel like that might have come to a bit more fruition, and I think it would have been more like an 8. I'd have felt because I really enjoyed the first hour.
Yeah, I would have maybe pushed it to a 7 if there was a bit more humour involved in it. Maybe even a tad more dark, but if it's based off the book, I don't know as to fully understanding what that has that's got to translate to the film. So there's maybe, they can't ask too much of it, I guess, but it's very much let down by the whole midsection in these older flashbacks.
Yeah, it just gets a bit too much and a bit too...
Yeah, just to lose a bit of interest in that. But not to say that it isn't a good film, if you want to check it out.
Definitely check it out,
it's
especially...
a recommendation, I guess.
I'd love just to watch the Alan, 100-year-old Alan. I'd just scrap all the other bits and just merge it into one and have 100-year-old Alan, because I really liked that part. That was my favourite bit.
If the whole film was just about him as an old man, that'd be great. But,
it weirdly would work a lot better. Yeah. Just a little bit of background of him
as a child, and
understanding.
And that'd be it. Yeah.
I agree. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength for this. I was a little bit worried about what you thought.
No.
Because I didn't know how much you'd enjoy it. Because I did enjoy the end. I did think, I enjoyed watching it. But there was a bit of slogs for me, yeah.
You got a happy ending, I guess.
I did, yeah. I did like the ending. Yeah. You know me, I'm a sucker for a happy ending.
Yeah. But I certainly wouldn't have given it an 8. But...
No, but if it was like 100-year-old Alan all the way through.
Right.
And you just didn't get that slog at the end, I feel like it would be a bit more worthy.
Right, so thank you for listening to our thoughts on this.
I hope that you've enjoyed what we've had to say, and it's been nice to actually hear Paul's thoughts a little bit more on it, because...
On something we've both not seen before.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was I was a little bit like, normally I kind of know that you like the film because you've wanted me to watch it. Yeah. But I hope that you've enjoyed what we've said, and I hope that you actually do go out and give it a bit of a watch, even though we have said the ending is a bit of a slog. You might not think that. It's everyone's opinion is different.
Yes, you might enjoy it, but if you like elephants, you'll definitely enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you can check us out on Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you might get your podcasts from. And of course, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook under the handle SP Film Viewers.
So please don't forget to like and subscribe.
And we'll speak to you next time.
Take care. Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.